Have you ever wondered what lies beyond the three dimensions we perceive in our everyday lives? We're all familiar with the concepts of length, width, and height. These three dimensions form the basis of our physical reality, allowing us to navigate the world around us. But what if I told you that there's more to the universe than meets the eye? What if, beyond the familiar triad of dimensions, there exists another realm, orthogonal to everything we know and understand? This is the tantalizing and mind-bending concept of the fourth dimension. It's a place that defies our three-dimensional understanding. A place where additional terms like anakata, vin vaut, and upsilon delta come into play. It's a realm where time intertwines with space, creating a continuum that's as fascinating as it is complex. So are you ready to step outside the box to push the boundaries of your understanding? Prepare to unravel the mysteries of the fourth dimension. So, what exactly is this elusive fourth dimension, you might ask? To answer that, we first need to remind ourselves of the three dimensions we're already familiar with: length, width, and height. These are the dimensions that define our physical world. Now picture these three dimensions as being at right angles to each other, forming a three-dimensional space. The fourth dimension, then, is something that's orthogonal, or at right angles, to this three-dimensional space. It's a direction that's completely unconnected to the three dimensions we're used to. Sounds mind-bending, doesn't it? Now, we often identify the fourth dimension with time, but for a moment let's consider it as a spatial dimension. We have up-down, north-south, and east-west. But where does the fourth dimension take us? That's where terms like anakata, vin vaut, and upsilon delta come in. These are just names given to the main directions in this hypothetical fourth spatial dimension. Think of anakata as the equivalent of up-down in the fourth dimension. Vin vaut could be the north-south, and upsilon delta the east-west. These terms help us to conceptualize this fourth dimension, even if we can't physically experience it. But let's bring time back into the equation, because in our reality, the fourth dimension is more than just another spatial direction. It's time itself. It's the dimension that allows us to move from one moment to the next, to progress from the past to the future. It's the dimension that gives our three-dimensional world a sense of continuity and flow. So, the fourth dimension, whether you consider it as a spatial dimension or as time, is an extension beyond our three-dimensional world. It's a realm that we can understand conceptually, even if we can't experience it directly. It's a dimension that adds depth to our understanding of the universe and our place in it. That's the fourth dimension, an extension beyond our three-dimensional world and time itself. Visualizing the fourth dimension is a challenge, but not an impossibility. So let's dive right into it, shall we? Imagine, if you will, a line. This line represents a single dimension, length. Now let's add a second dimension, width. We now have a plane, a flat surface like a piece of paper. Add a third dimension, height, and we've created a cube, a three-dimensional object with depth. But how do we add a fourth dimension? It's not as simple as just drawing another line. The fourth dimension, you see, isn't something we can perceive with our senses. It's orthogonal to the other three. This means it's at right angles to the dimensions of length, width, and height, just as these dimensions are at right angles to each other. Let's consider the fourth dimension as the joining of several three-dimensional spaces into a line. This line is not a physical line in our three-dimensional world, but a pathway through four-dimensional space. To reach a specific point in four-dimensional space, one travels along the three-dimensional spaces we are familiar with, but also through the fourth dimension. Imagine you're on a train. You're moving forward along the track, but you're also moving through time. Every moment brings you to a new point in four-dimensional space. In other words, the fourth dimension introduces a new direction of movement that we're not accustomed to considering. It's not up or down, left or right, forward or backward. It's a direction that's completely different, and it's hard to visualize because we're limited by our three-dimensional perception. But perhaps the most intriguing aspect of the fourth dimension is that it's not purely spatial. It's often identified with time. This idea that space and time are intertwined is a fundamental concept in physics, specifically in the theory of relativity. So, while we can't truly visualize the fourth dimension, we can certainly conceptualize it. We can understand that it's a new direction, orthogonal to the other three, and that it's a joining of multiple three-dimensional spaces. The fourth dimension, then, is a journey not just in space, but also through time. The fourth dimension has long captured the imagination of thinkers, scientists, and even artists. The allure of this realm beyond our three-dimensional existence has been a topic of fascination throughout history. Our journey begins in the late 19th century with the trial of medium Henry Slade, a figure who claimed to manipulate objects in the fourth dimension, performing feats as intriguing as removing items from inside closed safes. This idea of accessing an unseen world, of breaking the barriers of our physical reality, was as tantalizing then as it is now. This fascination didn't stop at spiritualism. It spilled over into the realms of literature and art. Robert A. Heinlein, an acclaimed science fiction author, wove the concept of the fourth dimension into his narrative in his story, And He Built a Crooked House. In this tale, an architect designs a house based on a four-dimensional hypercube, leading to a series of mind-bending events that play with the reader's perception of reality. In the world of graphic novels, Alan Moore's From Hell uses the fourth dimension as a reference point. Moore, known for his intricate plots and layered narratives, uses the concept to add depth and complexity to his storytelling, further demonstrating the versatility of the fourth dimension as a narrative device. The fourth dimension also found its place in the world of entertainment. Motion simulators, in a bid to heighten the thrill of the experience, often use the term 4D as a marketing ploy. They refer to the movement of the seats as the fourth dimension, adding an extra sense of immersion and excitement for the audience. From the courtrooms of the 19th century to the pages of science fiction novels and the thrill rides of amusement parks, the fourth dimension has permeated various facets of our culture. It represents the unknown, the unexplored, and the infinitely intriguing aspects of our reality that lie just beyond our grasp. The fourth dimension continues to inspire, mystify, and challenge our understanding of reality. As we continue to explore this concept, it's clear that the fourth dimension will remain a captivating topic for generations to come. Let's recap our journey into the fourth dimension. We started by exploring the familiar three dimensions, each orthogonal to the other, namely length, width, and height. These are the spatial dimensions we interact with daily, giving us up-down, north-south, and east-west directions. Then, we ventured into the mysterious fourth dimension. Unlike the other three, this one doesn't conform to our everyday experience. It's not something we can touch or see, but it's as real as the ground beneath our feet. We gave it names like Anacotta or Vinvout, but to be precise, we should identify it with time. It's the joining of several three-dimensional spaces into a line. To reach a specific point in four-dimensional space, one travels along three-dimensional spaces and also through the fourth dimension. In total, we're dealing with 4 vectors. Next, we attempted to visualize this elusive fourth dimension. It's a challenging task indeed for our three-dimensional minds to comprehend. But by using dimensional analogy, we can get closer to understanding it. Just as a two-dimensional being could grasp the third dimension by observing a cube, we can imagine the fourth dimension by considering a hypercube or tesseract. Finally, we delved into the historical and cultural impact of the fourth dimension. From the trial of medium Henry Slade in 1877, who claimed to manipulate objects in the fourth dimension, to its usage in modern-day motion simulators and literature, the fourth dimension has captured our collective imagination. So there we have it, a journey from the familiar three dimensions to the mysterious fourth. It's a concept that challenges our understanding of reality and invites us to think beyond our usual perspectives. Remember, the fourth dimension is more than a concept. It's a fascinating realm that exists beyond the boundaries of our three-dimensional world.